Good evening and welcome to yet another edition of DXB Today. DXB by name and very much by nature tonight. Why? Because we're thinking all things design. Bit of a deep dive into the world of design here. Listen, we live and we broadcast and we shine a light on a city that honours its heritage and its past. But you cannot deny it's got an eye on the future. And where better to see that than the world and the varied world of design, be it interior, exterior, urban or otherwise. We've got it all covered here on the show tonight. So let's see what's coming up.
Faris heads down to the Coca-Cola Arena to find out what goes behind the scenes at a Marvel Universe live show.
We're also learning how to elevate spaces with the co-founder of Dress My Room.
Plus, we get advice on how to make use of design principles when decorating your homes or office. And a little bit of music by Zaruni in studio to close the night. Guys, what an exciting episode. This would be one of my dream episodes because we get to meet so many design professionals. I personally love everything to do with home, interiors, furniture in general just gives me a different kind of high. You guys into that kind of stuff, Ahmed?
Yeah, this is what I do most of the time. Whenever I have free time, I like to take my friends and go furniture shopping. If not even furniture shopping, just to go and check out new sofas and whatever. And I'm in the middle of like renovating my house. And it's always so hard to find the right piece for the space. So I'm really excited to be part of this episode today and know more of how to pick carpets, curtains, the right sofa, and for the right space.
I'm glad that you two are keeping the design world in business at the moment. I'm looking forward to looking at this from a more of a macro point of view, because I really do think, and I know that we get to this point here where we use the word hub a lot, an aviation hub, a hub for tourism, a hub for business, a hub for startups, a hub for entrepreneurial spirits and activity. One thing I really think this place is a hub for design. And we've really seen that landscape grow and develop over the years. From exactly what you're saying there, interior design and being able to go to some of the great shops and design your own little space and make it feel special. But B, just look around you. Yeah. I mean, look at the thinking that goes into this place, from the design of the roads, the urban structure, the parks, the outside areas, to the extraordinary buildings that we surround ourselves with, and all that goes in between. We are living in it's almost sort of like an organic design space at the moment, and it's exciting. Yeah,
this is what they have. Like, you see it in all the buildings. Like, we have the most beautiful building in the world, and now they keep also thinking of more ways to push boundaries in structures. Like, for example, we're gonna have like the loop that they're gonna do in downtown. There's so many different things. Like you said, the roads, the landscaping that's happening around Dubai is just great.
I think for me personally, I have more of an appreciation for Dubai when I travel and when I go to other places, because when you travel to Europe, for example, I mean, you're staying at a nice 5-star hotel and you're paying the price. A nice 5-star hotel over there would be a regular 2 or 3 star in Dubai, because we're so used to the standard of living and the design level and the cleanliness, and everything is so sparkly new in Dubai that when you travel to most places, you think to yourself, this is a 5-star hotel.
A lot of that comes down to space, and I think that's one of the benefits here, is that you're designing from pretty much a blank canvas to a certain degree, and therefore you've got the space to use. I mean, you were in London recently. I come from London. You know, you notice just how claustrophobic it is and tight, because there's a city that was built many centuries ago, and they're now really challenged with the expansion plans there, which is not the case here.
You see all the places like renovating in London, and like it's crazy because it's always like so cramped in spaces.
And when you are in one of these hotels, you would hope that you're on the floor that has been renovated, but otherwise it's like a scene from the movie The Shining. You look at the age-old corridors and stuff, but it has its own charm, I suppose.
Since today is all about design and we have a lot of experts with us, let's see who's the guest co-host on tonight's episode.
Hi guys, my name is Mihir Sangani and I'm the creative director and co-founder of Design Smith. Can't wait to see you in the studio.
Mihir will join us in just a second, but first Faris went down to the Coca-Cola Arena to get a sneak peek at the preparations for the first ever Marvel Universe Live, which was just underway. The iconic show features stunts and adventures of the most popular Marvel superheroes and villains. Let's take a look.
I'm at the Coca-Cola Arena where we're about to get a little preview and a little taste of what we can expect from Marvel Universe Live. My geeky little heart is so excited for this, so let's check it out. And here we are with one of the performers, Mr. Nick Moran, who plays the role of Doctor Strange. You've definitely got the beard for it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a prerequisite for the role, I guess.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about what you specifically do in the show. Is there a lot of acrobatics? Is there a lot of hand motions? What are you up to?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different specialties in this show. We have incredible acrobatics from Spider-Man. We have motorcycle stunts by Captain America. As Doctor Strange, one of the things I do a lot in the show is aerial flying. So fly on a wire, as you might imagine, with the cloak of levitation. Doctor Strange is known for floating above the scene, and that's just one of the stunts I do in the show.
Now, Doctor Strange, one of the few Marvel characters that has a cape. Does the cape ever get in the way when you're trying to do your thing?
It took a lot of practice, actually. The cloak of levitation is sort of, well, the cloak wouldn't want to hear me say this, but sort of my sidekick. And it's got a lot of interesting powers, but it can be a little finicky. It took a lot of care and practice to learn how to use the cloak properly.
Amazing, and we're very much looking forward to the show. Can you give us a little bit, paint a picture of what we can expect? How many performers? How big is this thing going to be?
So there's roughly 50 performers in the show. We're doing 8 performances here in Dubai, right from January 31st through February 4th. This is the first time this show has ever been in Dubai. It's right out of the Marvel Universe that people are familiar with from the comic books and the movies. And you're going to see all the characters you know and love, like Spider-Man, the Hulk, Captain America, some of the villains you know and love, like Loki, and with a storyline that everybody's going to be familiar with and really enjoy, I think.
Amazing. Well, we can't wait to see the show. Thank you so much, Nick Moran.
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, the marvellous Faris there down at Marvel, very much in his element, that's for sure. Right, back to today's big talker. I'm going to be joined now by a co-host, the founder of a leading design powerhouse, creating luxury residentials and residential areas across the Middle East as a whole, combining practical experiences with design capabilities. A warm welcome again to our co-host, Mihir Sangani. Thanks so much indeed for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And welcome to the sofas.
Love it.
Apologies for our design at the moment. I'm sure you're casting your eye over that.
I will send someone to fix it later.
Can you? All right. Okay. Well, we'll take some free advice if that's all right at point. Listen, it's such a vibrant business. It's such a vibrant industry, business landscape here at the moment, and I'm always quite interested to know what the trends are, because there's always a trend out there, and I'm loving your trend at the moment that you've brought down here. I love the portmanteau at the best of times, but resimercial, explain that one to me.
So resimercial, so simply put, it's just residential, commercial, and in a nutshell, that's resimercial.
But is it commercial space that's been refitted or into commercial space, or vice versa?
So if you date back into it, you'd probably notice that commercial spaces had this archaic way of doing things, and they were set up in a specific way. And if you look at the co-working spaces now, you look at commercial spaces now, which is offices, larger corporate houses, etc., you'll notice that the trends have changed, the times have changed, and the way it's designed has completely changed. And that pretty much brings us about to what we call resimercial.
Okay. Mihir, I'm absolutely fascinated by all things interiors, as I mentioned at the top of the show, but I'm sure your job is not easy because there are so many elements to keep in mind. You, of course, need to combine the functionality, the aesthetics, create a cohesive design that also reflects the personality and preference of your clients. So many things to sort of keep in mind while creating something. It's a lot of pressure.
So it's a game of moving parts, actually, to be honest. But we've been around for 35 years now as a studio, which is roughly giving away my age as well. But that being said, with that level of experience, you're able to control all the variables. And when it comes to good design, it's not just one or two things which stand out. It's actually a blend of all of it, which you can't identify and pick one thing out. And I think that's just fabulous design by itself. So if you had to pick one thing, then that's just a trend or a pop piece. But if you actually went across the board and couldn't identify what you loved so much about the entire setting, I think that in a nutshell is good design.
And since you're the founder of Design Smith, can you please tell us more about it? Because I saw something on your Instagram that says you're a non-boring studio.
So
can you please
I'll rephrase that. When we went about, so as like I mentioned, as a 35-year-old studio, we were named slightly differently back then, but when we went about rebranding, we wanted to make a statement by saying we don't do boring.
Yeah.
So if it's your typical average design, which you would look for a residential or a commercial space, you wouldn't need a designer for it. You would just need a good set of selections which would help you curate it. But then when it comes to interior design, it's a lot more technical. So there is not just the design elements, but it's also the functionality, the comfort levels, the luxury levels that you want to bring into it. So when you don't do boring, I think that in a nutshell, that's just packaging all of it together. And it's design which is for everyone, but it's also subtle in its own way.
How much of your role with Design Smith and you personally and your team as well is managing expectations? I mean, we live in a city of so many different nationalities and all those cultures coming together. Obviously, it's a bit of a melting pot of designs as well. A lot of people will come to you and go, I want this space to look like this. And you might sit there and go, this space is never going to look like that. And if it were, it's not going to work. So do you have to manage expectations?
So I think a lot of the designer's role is also understanding the brief, right? So someone comes in with expectations. I mean, most clients come in with expectations of a certain direction that they want to go in, but it's through conversation, constant conversation, discussions, understanding the reasons why. I think when you start breaking that down, you're able to reframe the entire brief. And that's the beauty of storytelling, right? So when it comes down to that, you always have a much crisper brief in general. And I think that's where the expectations get set. But I think we've done a fair few projects now.
Here as well.
I don't want to put a number to it, but I think you get a knack for it, right? So one of the core principles at Design Smith is we don't do Pinterest.
Yeah.
The biggest platform
really?
out there.
That's the thing that you should, because everyone says you go on Pinterest and pick something from there.
And that just scales your imagination to another level. But yeah, we don't do Pinterest. So we don't do boring, and then we don't do Pinterest, and then
say no boring, no Pinterest.
So then you have to start creating, and you got to start thinking outside the box.
Okay.
And as designers, I think you end up designing a lot better when you're not replicating, but you're being inspired to create something out of the ordinary, which is specific to a brief, because none of your briefs would be the same.
Yeah,
right.
True.
And
for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Three very different personalities over here.
I can tell you which one's going to be the most expensive.
Yeah, for sure. And the most chic, might I add. Now, speaking of designs, I'm sure you've got so many different places you can boast about, but one of the places you've recently worked on is Atrangi. Can you tell us a little bit about it, please?
So Atrangi is an original Indian dining experience by itself, if I had to be very specific, where you want the food to define the entire space and the setting, but it's not specific to just one element in it. So the lights, the space, the entire, it's in Alcázar Jumeirah, which is a fabulous location. So you come in.
Looks stunning.
So you come in through the waters, you have a nice landing space, and then from the entrance lobby, which is nice, like a nice double-headed space, to the artwork inside, I think all of it is just a beautiful harmony of bringing in to a space where the food defines the space.
Yeah.
So I think Atrangi was one of our much loved projects.
It is very minimalistic now, looking at some of the B-roll of Atrangi, which is fascinating. Mihir, another important question I wanted to ask you. There seems to be a lot of focus on sustainability. So I want to know, how do you integrate sustainability into your design philosophy, at the same time including a lot of eco-friendly elements?
So I think sustainability starts pretty much at home, if I had to define it. So as a design studio's practice, one of the things we're trying to do is stay away from printing. Right? So we want to try and go as online as possible, but then when you try and start translating that into projects, there's obviously the whole trend about greenwashing, but when it comes to actually implementing, it comes down to education.
Yeah.
And one of the things we try and do is we try and educate clients in what you can and cannot do. I mean, you can't expect everyone to go the 100 yards, but I think through good education and conversation, they themselves realize what they can and cannot deliver in terms of their choices in terms of sustainability. So you might be able to pick in certain elements from your flooring, your fabric finishes, which are recycled, the light savers that you can bring in, sanitary fittings which allow a lesser consumption of water. All of this adds up in a lot of ways to a simple, it's a simple sustainability solution. I'm not asking you to go, 100% green. It's not, it probably is feasible, but I don't think everyone's up for that yet.
Okay, we still have a lot to talk about, but after the break, we'll be joined by the award-winning designer behind iconic spaces we've experienced across the city. Plus, don't forget that we've got the music. Stay right here.